Our call to worship this morning is adapted from a reading by Megan Visser. We gather together for kindness and comfort. May rough, worn hands and aching backs be healed. We gather together with hope for equality. May those who labor to survive live to know justice. We gather together with shared love and vocation. May our bonds of solidarity be strengthened. We gather together with courage and friendship. May we proceed hand in hand towards freedom.
Hello again. Our first hymn is hymn number 69, Give Thanks. This tune is an old American, a classic American hymn tune, but the words have more to do with labor and harvest. You might usually use it around Thanksgiving, but I think it suits our thoughts about community and labor that we're talking about today.
For the corn and the wheat that are reaped, for labor well done, and for barns that are heaped, for the sun and the dew and the sweet honeycomb, for the rose and the song and the harvest brought home. Give thanks for the mills and the farms of strength in the work of our hands, for the beauty our artists and poets have wrought, hope and affection our friendships have brought. Give thanks for the homes that with kindness are blessed, for seasons of plenty and well-deserved rest, for our country extending from sea unto sea, for ways that have made it a land of the free.
As Unitarian Universalists, we light a flame within a chalice as a symbol of sanctuary and safety to unite us in our worship and to remind us of our ongoing search for the light of truth. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the wonder and mystery of this great gift. So let us now kindle our flame of liberal religious heritage and renew our covenant of mutual love and care. Love is our doctrine. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, and to serve those in need. This we promise, this we covenant with life and one another. Each week we light a candle for justice and healing, to hold the space for our understanding of interdependence, that our liberation is bound up with every other person's liberation. We light this candle that we may not be numbed to injustice, devastation, illness, and trauma, but rather to find strength, courage, and love together to continue engaging with the struggles for liberation, justice, and healing. Today, as we light this candle, we're particularly mindful of the people of Haiti and Afghanistan, and all of those who labor to provide food for others, and those who worked in unjust situations for unfair wages. Let us now hold a time of silence to listen to our hearts and bodies, and perhaps lift up prayers. As Swinche plays our centering music, please feel free to use the chat to let us know that your chalice is lit.
Morning. This morning's RE moment works into the entire theme of our service, but from a upbeat perspective, because music was a very key part of most labor rallies and celebrations. So the story that I bring to you today is an adaptation of The Golden Thread, a song for Pete Seeger. The book was written by Colin Malloy, and the illustrations are by Nikki McClure. I heard there was a golden thread, a shining magic thing that bounded up our little world. I heard Pete Seeger sing. Pete, Pete, what rhymes with Pete? A miner's cleat, a fishing fleet, the sound of many marching feet. To hear Pete Seeger sing, was it a song that I heard sung along a cobbled alley, or from a merry sailing sloop that piled the Hudson River Valley? Hammerbringer, river singer, sailor, soldier, lean bell ringer, a fighter in peace, a musician in war, he followed that string until he couldn't no more. But before we get this string a singing, all strings must have their first beginning. Pete was raised by musical hands, the third-born member of a family band, playing 12-night stands, all hands, bringing back to backwaters, packing sons and daughters in a Model T Ford, with the boys on the boards and a bucket to wash all the diapers. And our Pete grew. He grew and grew 10 stories high, it might seem to you. Let's give him a banjo slung over his shoulder. Let's give him a song. Let's make him a soldier. In World War II, what was a pacifist to do? Armed with a banjo, he followed along to keep soldiers in cheer by singing them songs. A banjo can do more good than a gun, and it's a lot more fun, as there are many songs to be sung, and chords to be rung, and voices to be brung round in harmony. Oh, Pete, Pete, when next we meet, we find you on a brimming street. The crowds, they're reaching mountain size, and you're teaching folks to organize and unionize, preaching workers' rights to picket lines at factories and farms and in copper mines. And what to do with golden thread, but keep spinning it, hymning it, till it's a worldwide spread. And that's what Pete did. He took a song called I'll Be All Right that he heard sung in a labor fight, and he changed it around for a new crowd to hum, to proudly pronounce, "We shall overcome." This beautiful song with Pete's humble improvement became a great anthem for the civil rights movement. That thread, his own homespun bed. This thread was a lifeline, a tuneful gift giver, a thing that entwines us, a deep winding river. As threads have beginnings, so must they have ends. And just like a river in its bows and its bends, as it starts in the mountains and flows to the sea, it spreads the world over when it finally breaks free. Pete's thread stretched long, it bridged generations through depressions, recessions, and high celebrations. He followed it doggedly, and with all of his heart, he wove it and drove it into his own art. Now Pete is beyond us, he's passed on away, but his legacy still surrounds us today. In music, in rivers, in organization, a hero to all in this young, mighty nation. Oh, I heard there was a gold thread, a shining magic thing that bounded up our little imperfect world. I heard Pete Seeger sing. Now, I'd like to invite folks at home participating by Zoom, in whatever way you are able to join Alex and myself as we move along with the words to Clap Your Hands by Pete Seeger. Alex will be leading us in song, and I will be leading us in movement. Are you ready?
I could play the banjo. I wish I could play the banjo like Pete Seeger, but I can only play my little ukulele, so you'll have to forgive me. All right, the first thing we're gonna do is clap our hands. So I hope you're ready. Here we go. Clap, clap, clap your hands together. Clap, clap, clap your hands together. Now we'll stomp our feet. Oh, but singing in a mask is hard. Okay, we'll stomp our feet. Here we go. Stomp, stomp, stomp our feet. Stomp your feet together. Stomp, stomp, stomp your feet. Stomp your feet together. And I hope you're standing up so you can turn around. Here we go, ready? And it's turn, turn, turn around together. Turn, turn, turn around together. Now we can stretch up high. Here we go. And stretch, stretch, stretch up high together. Stretch, stretch, stretch up high together. And if you can see the sky, here we go. See the
the sky together. See the sky together. Now we can all sing the song together. Sing this song together. Sing this song together.
There are two readings this morning that have to do with farm workers. Virginia Nesmith, Executive Director of the National Farm Worker Ministry, shares this story. Last fall, I met Raul, a farm worker who picks vegetables in North Carolina. We spoke in the barren room that he shared with 6 other men at the labor camp. He also shared bathrooms and showers, as do many of the workers, that were dirty, lacked privacy, and were freezing in the autumn air. Not an inviting scenario for washing off the toxic pesticides which they come in contact with in the fields. But that wasn't Raul's primary concern. What he talked about was how desperately he missed his children. He does not have legal papers, so he can't go back and forth to Mexico, where he is from. I have not seen my children in over 5 years, he said, but I make these sacrifices so they don't have to. Our families are fed by hundreds of thousands of men and women like Raul, who are separated from their own families. Enough. Those who have been separated from their families by a human-made border should have the chance to travel back and forth from home to work. It is a moral travesty that we separate migrant farm worker families in order to feed U.S. families. We need immigration reform. And the second reading is from an interview with Julissa Velarde, who at the time her mother was working as a migrant farm worker, and she shared some of her story in the book, Voices from the Fields, Children of Migrant Farm Workers Tell Their Stories, compiled by S. Beth Atkin. Ever since I was little, I have moved around. I was born in Blythe, California, and then we lived near Los Angeles, and then in Nogales, Arizona for a while. I don't remember a lot of places where we have lived or for how long we stayed. Now we mostly move from Salinas to Huron, California, or to Yuma, Arizona. My younger sister, Christina, and I have grown up moving around with my mom, but we don't work in the fields like she does. She has always worked in the fields. To support us, she is always moving to find work in the fields. She works for lots of different companies picking lettuce. When we move, sometimes I don't remember where I am. I miss my cousin, Amalia, and I have friends that I miss. Sometimes when I come back, they have moved because their families are migrant too. Sometimes the class is studying something higher in my school in Salinas, and I have to catch up when I come back. A lot of the time, the teachers don't help that much. They say they are busy with another student or something. They don't understand. Some are good, like my language arts teacher, Mr. Cheney. He takes time to see what the problem is. My mom says that I should keep studying hard in school, and when I get older, get a good career and have a house of my own. That is what I would like to get her, a little trailer or a house that is all hers. I wish she had just one job that was easier than working in the fields, and that she would always be here, that we had one home. As we enter our meditation time, I invite you to take a breath, relax, and bring to mind the most recent meal you ate. Maybe it was breakfast this morning, or if you're not much of a breakfast eater, maybe it was dinner last night. Imagine some of the foods you ate. Do you know how or where they were grown or harvested? Maybe you even grew some yourself or purchased some from a farmer you can picture at the farmer's market. Maybe your food was grown somewhere in Iowa, or maybe somewhere around the world. Allow yourself to feel gratitude as you bring to mind or imagine the people who grew and harvested your food and transported it to you. Allow yourself to feel gratitude for the soil, rain, sun, and supportive plants and insects who help that food to grow. Maybe it was partly processed in a factory, or maybe you or a family member cooked it or chopped it yourself. Allow yourself to feel gratitude for those who prepared the food you ate. Perhaps you purchased it in a grocery store. Allow yourself to feel gratitude for all of those who worked at that grocery store or other places to get the food to you. If you shared that meal with others, allow yourself to feel gratitude for those connections as well. Then allow yourself to feel gratitude for the way the food nourished your body and your spirit. Take another breath while you allow yourself to notice all the connections with others and with the earth that you have through just a single meal. Allow yourself to feel gratitude for those connections. Maybe you wish to offer prayers or wishes for the health of the earth, the plants, the people who are a part of bringing that meal to you. As we now listen to the meditation music, I invite those of you who are on Zoom to feel free to put in chat what is on your heart today. Morning, on this Labor Day weekend, we honor workers and labor organizing, and we especially honor those who work hard to provide the food we eat. We also celebrate ways that many are working to help make it easier for farmers and farm workers to cooperate with the land, create community, and provide justice through the food that they grow. As you heard in the story about Pete Seeger, we also know that song can be a strong force to move forward social change and justice for workers. In 1962, Cesar Chavez began working to organize farm workers to create a union and have more just working conditions for farm workers. The work he started continues on today through the United Farm Workers. Many farm workers work under very stressful conditions, one of those being extreme summer heat. One of the United Farm Workers' current efforts is supporting a series of bills in Congress to require the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, to implement a national heat stress standard. The bills, fittingly called the Asunción Valdivia Heat Illness and Fatality Prevention Act, were named after a 53-year-old farm worker who died in July 2004. He collapsed from heat stroke after working a 10-hour day picking grapes in the 100-degree sun. No ambulance responded because employees were unable to provide the vineyard's location. Asuncion died in the car as his son tried frantically to reach a hospital. There is also a national organization that helps religious communities support farm workers as they organize for justice, the National Farm Worker Ministry. One of their particular focuses is food justice for farm workers. The people who spend their days picking fruits and vegetables struggle to feed their own families. One study of farm workers in Georgia found that 63% of migrant and seasonal workers surveyed struggled to feed themselves and their families. In the U.S., farm workers uphold the agricultural industry while simultaneously being 400 times more likely to experience food insecurity than the general public. They work long, arduous hours under the most punishing of conditions and are literally unable to enjoy the fruits of their labor. To put it simply, as people deserving of dignity and respect, farm workers should have accessible, safe, healthy, and culturally appropriate food. And the National Farm Worker Ministry also says, as workers, farm workers must be able to eat food that gives them adequate strength and health so they can pick and process food as an essential part of the agricultural supply chain. And they also emphasize that many farm workers do not have access to the food that they grow, pick, and process. So I encourage us all to be aware of these issues as we choose the foods we eat and decide if there are ways we can have an impact on those who grow and prepare our food. I also wanted to highlight some good news of local projects that help to promote food justice, sustainable and regenerative farming, and healthy connections to our food supply. There are many others that I'm not mentioning, but I just wanted to highlight 3 in this area. I have a share in a CSA, community-supported agriculture, at Rainbow Roots Farm in Iowa City. I know there are many others of you who have had a share in a farm or currently have a share in a farm, which helps to mitigate the risks that farmers take in growing crops and also to provide more money up front for them to farm. Corbin Schultz, who farms and manages Rainbow Roots Farm and who also serves on the board of Sustainable Iowa Land Trust, has written some words for me to share with you about her passion for farming, her experiences as a farmer, and the work she does as a member of the board of Sustainable Iowa Land Trust, also known as SILT. And Corbin says, "My journey farming didn't start from a long-term dream. I graduated from the University of Iowa with a Bachelor of Science in Human Physiology and a minor in Spanish. It had been my goal to go to podiatry school to follow in my mom's footsteps, no pun intended. After realizing that the climate is changing, people are getting sicker than they have ever been, and our empathy for the world and well-being of species around us is quickly diminishing, there was only one thing to do: devote my life to something that I knew would be helpful for my immediate community and the world as a whole." Corbin goes on to say, "I moved to Breckenridge, Colorado 3 days after graduating college and drove the county bus. While I was decompressing, trying to tie myself to something that felt right and enjoying my low responsibility life, I decided that snowboarding every morning and driving skiers around the county every evening wasn't making my heart sing. I flew to Maui, Hawaii with just a backpack and decided to work on a succulent nursery for a couple of months. The boss, besides being extremely sexist, decided to let me mess around in the employee garden. I built several raised beds with rocks, made compost from scraps for the soil, and learned so much about growing vegetables 100% through making mistakes. I then moved to Whidbey Island in Washington for a 9-month nonprofit organic farm school. That is when it hit me. I had everything I needed to farm regeneratively: passion. Everything else felt like it would fall into place. When I moved back to Iowa City in the end of 2018, Corbin says, I made the dream a reality. But it didn't start easy. My first piece of land was a 3-acre hay field in the middle of nowhere. I didn't have access to water or electricity. I had to wash vegetables in my parents' driveway, and I had absolutely no infrastructure. I had to relearn how to farm because the soil, climate, and pests were so different from farming in Washington. I had a really tough year. In October of 2019, I got a phone call from a local farmer, Kate Edwards, telling me that she had bought a farm of her own and was moving off her piece of leased land. Kate told me that I should contact the landowners immediately to try to get an interview for a chance to live and farm on this land. It felt like the interview of my life. I met with Rose, the landowner, and had to tell her I've only been farming for 1 year, didn't have any infrastructure, electricity, or water, and I'm extremely poor. I didn't tell her that I would do anything to make this work. I'd get more jobs. I would work 100 hours a week. I would sleep in the barn. A couple days later, Rose called me and told me that even though I wasn't an expert farmer, and they would definitely be taking a risk with me, that they chose me to move in because they wanted to give this opportunity to a woman. I was so relieved. I don't know how long I would have been farming without this opportunity. And look how big the farm is now. 80 households receive weekly shares of food that are grown at Rainbow Roots Farm, and we also sell produce at the Iowa City Farmers Market. Corbin continues, along with farming, I am on the board of WFAN, the Women Food and Ag Network, on the board of SILT, the Sustainable Iowa Land Trust, and the president of the Eastern Iowa Young Farmers Coalition. I also coach the varsity girls soccer team at City High School in Iowa City. The organization that sticks out to me the most is SILT, the Sustainable Iowa Land Trust. This is a nonprofit that puts agricultural easements on land for 200 years. This means the land has to be in sustainable food production. It cannot be developed. For a farmer to get started, they need 3 things: knowledge of farming, access to infrastructure like tractor, greenhouse, fencing, irrigation, electricity, storage, etc., and they need access to affordable land. Land in Iowa is extremely expensive, and once you're on the land, you're only a third of the way towards making a farm business viable. SILT helps place young farmers on affordable farms that have infrastructure and the ability to make back what you put into the farm. Farming is so hard, so we need these organizations to do the heavy lifting. If farmers had to grow healthy food and fight for a more just food system, there wouldn't be enough food. Rainbow Roots Farm is more than a farming business to me, she says. It connects community, health, and the world. We are changing the way Iowa looks at food while taking care of the air, soil, and water. We are teaching children that their food doesn't just come from a grocery store. We are doing this together, all of us. I'd also like to share some words from Will Kapp, who works with the Global Food Project. And so he says, the Global Food Project is a community garden program at the Johnson County Historic Poor Farm. But we need to think of a different way to describe ourselves because we do a lot more than simply provide a plot. We focus our outreach to communities that may have barriers to a traditional community garden plot, specifically immigrant communities. Those barriers may be simply not knowing what a community garden is or that they exist, lacking internet access, or the language proficiency required to sign up. It may also be that they don't see themselves at that plot already and wonder if they'd be allowed. We seek to create a safe, inclusive space that provides community education and resources like seeds, plants, compost, and tools to folks who are looking to grow their own food. Our goal at the Global Food Project is to create a community of gardeners that is representative of our Johnson County community. We currently have gardeners from Sudan, Mexico, Togo, Guatemala, Democratic Republic of Congo, and the US. All of these gardeners are interested in growing food for themselves and their families, and often that food creates connections back to their countries of origin. I found out about many vegetables and herbs I never knew about from the families that garden with us. including a Mexican herb called papalo that provides a richness to stew, a green that's popular with many Sudanese gardeners called molokia that is similar to okra, and a Congolese gardener who's growing sweet potatoes and amaranth for the leaves. I started with the Global Food Project this winter, says Will, and was hopeful of the community that I could continue to foster at the Johnson County Poor Farm. That hope has been met and exceeded. I've had new gardeners to the program whoop with delight on finding out that we encourage them to bring seeds from their home country. I've been able to see my daughter have the experience of bursting a piñata with kids from all over the world. I've received dishes of food that were completely unfamiliar to me. Most importantly, I've witnessed multiple occasions of people from different countries who would have never had the opportunity to meet, bond over both the joys of a bumper crop of tomatoes and the pains of eggplants ravaged by potato beetles. This is a very special program that I can't wait to see grow to include more families, more land, more opportunities, and hopefully less potato beetles. And now we have the chance to hear some reflections from Michi Lopez, who's the Access and Equity Coordinator with Grow Johnson County. She will be speaking live from Zoom, and it might take a few moments to get her set up ready to speak.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michi. If you can hear me, can someone put a message in the chat? All right, awesome. Thank you, Kirk. Like I said, my name is Michi, rhymes with Peachy. Thank you all very much for having me here today. I am the Access and Equity Coordinator for a local nonprofit called Iowa Valley RC&D. And what our nonprofit does is that we work with, farmers and sometimes, local government, but we also work with everyday working folks and schools and youth to try and change local food systems. And one of the ways that we're doing that is through our Grow Johnson County program. So Grow Johnson County is a 5-acre hunger relief and education farm located on the Johnson County Historic Poor Farm. And our neighbors just to the east is actually the Global Food Project, who Peggy was just reading about. And so we've been there since 2015, but we started producing food in 2016. And so Grow Johnson County aims to work towards a more just food system. And we do that in 2 ways, by training growers and growing food. So since 2018, we've hosted annual apprenticeships on our farm where people from the community can come and learn our organic farming practices and methods. And so some of these folks have, gardened a little bit. Some of these folks know that they want to be a farmer in the next couple of years. And some of these folks are like me, who had never even been on a farm before in their entire life and didn't. I still tell people that, like, when I first grew Brussels sprouts, it just blew my mind. I didn't know that they came on a stalk and then you just popped them off. I had never really thought about like what Brussels sprouts looked like, beyond the store, beyond when it gets to me. And so then we also train some folks like that. And so our training consists of like seed starting. We have a greenhouse. And so then greenhouse maintenance and upkeep. Also, organic pest management, organic weed management, and then also like the less known side of farming, which is like, like food safety. And do you have a food safety plan? Do you have like a contamination plan and traceability? Are you able to track where your food went to? And also, is your customer able to track it back to you? And so all these community members from different backgrounds are able to come and join us on the farm for the whole season. So from like April, May up until October, and work with us and help us farm these 5 acres. And so each year we work with our partner agencies in Johnson County, such as DVIP, the Domestic Violence Intervention Program, community, the Coralville Pantry, the North Liberty Pantry, some of the community centers, and Head Start, HACAP Head Start programs. And we work with them and we talk to their clientele about what their preferred foods are. Like, what are the foods that you are hoping to see when you come into your hunger relief site? And so then using the information that the clientele gives us, we modify our production plans annually. And so, for example, we used to grow lots of Napa cabbage because we thought people liked Napa cabbage. And then we realized that pretty much no one wanted Napa cabbage. So then we stopped growing Napa cabbage. But watermelon was tied for like the #1 most requested item. So we've doubled our watermelon production. And so by taking information directly from the community members who eat our food, we're working with the local community to address local hunger. And then by training people who haven't had other avenues to learn about farming, we're educating and informing and equipping the future vegetable farmers of Iowa. And for example, is myself. I started off as a volunteer in 2017. And in 2018, Grow Johnson County had their first apprenticeship. And I was just like, well, I don't know anything about growing fruits and vegetables. I would love to learn. And so then I joined the apprenticeship. And now today I'm one of the co-farm managers. And so I'm very thankful to be able to give back to my community and grow organic, fresh, local vegetables and distributed them to our neighbors in need. So if you are interested or curious about volunteering with us and getting your hands dirty, I will type our website and into the chat. And thank you so much for having me here today, Peggy.
Well, thank you very much to Michi and also to Will and to Corbin for sharing some news of things that's going on right here in Johnson County. I hope you've been inspired a little bit to reflect on the food you eat if you haven't already been doing that, and the workers who bring that to you, and to also see some hopeful possibilities for ways people are working for justice, particularly for farmers, farm workers, and food growing issues.
How we give, what we do with our lives, our time, and our resources is a reflection of our values. In response to the abundance we are blessed with every week, this congregation donates generously to organizations in the community whose work aligns with our values and principles. Our community partner agency for September is Shelter House. In the last year, Shelter House provided emergency shelter to 617 adults, 117 children in our community. It has remained open throughout the pandemic, providing temporary housing and helping people find permanent housing. Just the first 6 months of 2021, with grants and individual gifts for eviction prevention work, Shelter House has been able to keep 555 individuals and 236 households from experiencing homelessness. On the screen, you will see the instructions for how to give online, or you may take this time to write a check and address the envelope to UUS to be put in the mail. You may assist our community partner, contribute to the congregation to provide additional support for our operating expenses, contribute to your pledge to our society. The offering is a sign of commitment to this free congregation, which is completely supported by the voluntary generosity of all who join with us. As we give and receive this offering, may we be transformed by our giving, and may the world be transformed by our gifts. Okay. It's going? All right. Take a moment to explain what I'm doing today is honoring a fallen member of our congregation. Joe Brisbane was a longtime member here who helped organize these annual Labor Day picnics. I sang with him in the choir, and I was a friend of his for years and years. So I wanted to honor him today with a song that I composed. I dreamed I saw Joe B. last night, alive as you or me. Says I, but Joe, you're 2 years dead. I never died, said he. I never died, said he. Social injustice killed you, Joe. It wore you down, says I. Takes more than that to take me down, says Joe. I didn't die, says Joe. I didn't die. Sitting there as big as life, a story to be told, says Joe, what they can never kill are the books that I have sold, the books that I have sold. Oh, he ain't dead, he says to me. Injustice in this world and lives to organize. Moral hill to old Capitol, at uptown Bills and Mill, where protest songs are being sung, singing still. Joe B. is singing still. I dreamed I saw Joe B. last night, alive as you or me. Says I, but Joe, you're 2 years dead. I never died, said he. I never died, said he. Nurturing gratitude and how we understand and express interdependence is a part of how we live our Unitarian Universalist faith. May what has been shared today help us more fully affirm our interconnection and live into love and justice. Immediately after the service, we'll have time for all to join in conversation and community. Whether you're online or in the sanctuary, after the traveling music, the host will explain that process. And now we will sing hymn 122, Sound Over the Waters. If you're at UUS, please sing softly into your mask, hum, or move your hands with the body. If you're at home, please feel free to sing as loudly as you'd like.
Sound over all waters, reach out from all lands, the chorus of voices, the clasping of hands. Rise, hope of the ages, arise like the sun. All speech flow to music, all hearts beat as one. Sound trumpets of triumph for marches of peace. West, north, and south, let the long choral cease. Songs of great joy that the angels began. Give glory to children, to woman and man. Hark, joining the chorus, the heavens resound. The old day is ending, a new day is crowned. Rise, hope for the ages, now rise like the sun. All speech flow to music, all hearts flow as one.
Join me in the words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. All these we carry in our hearts and in our minds until we are together again.
The words for the benediction are an excerpt from Tierra Prometida, the Promised Land, by Francisco X. Alarcón to the students of the Yo Puedo program for children of migrant farm workers in California. I'll first read it in Spanish and then in English. Carguemos con nosotros siempre nuestras raíces. Enrollémoslas para que nos sirvan de almohada. Seamos el sueño de nuestros antepasados, la promesa de sus costillas, la respuesta a sus plegarias. Seamos la llave que abre nuevas puertas a nuestra gente, que mañana sea hoy, ayer nunca se ha ido. Demos en este instante el primer paso, por fin lleguemos a nuestra tierra prometida. Let us carry our roots with us all the time. Let us roll them up and use them as our pillow. Let us be the dreams of our elders, the promise of their ribs, the answer to their prayers. Let us be the key that opens new doors to our people. Let tomorrow be today. Yesterday has never left. Let us all right now take the first step. Let us finally arrive at our promised land.